The number of U.S. suicide deaths reached an all time high in 2022, according to a provisional data released Thursday from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. An estimated 49,449 people died by suicide in the United States last year, up 2.6% from the estimated 48,183 in 2021. Suicide trends, however, saw a decrease among young people and increase among older demographics. Suicide deaths for people aged 10 to 24 decreased by 8.4%, dropping to 6,529 in 2022 from 7,126 in 2021. The trend reverses for other age groups. Suicide deaths for people aged 25 to 44 rose by 0.7% from 16,724 in 2021 to 16,843 in 2022. Such deaths for people aged 45 to 64 rose by 6.6%, 14 from 14,668 to 15,632 in 2022. For people aged 65 and older, suicide deaths rose by 8.1% from 9,652 in 2021 to 10,433 in 2022. The suicide rate for American, Indian/Alaskan people also saw a decrease in 2022, though the sample pool was smaller. Suicide deaths declined by 6.1%. I'm going to skim through this a little bit. Other demographics saw a steady increase in suicide rates. White suicides rose by 2.1%. Black/African American deaths by suicide rose by 3.6%. Asian suicide deaths rose by 5.7%, and multiracial suicides rose by 7.9%. The male suicide rate was up 2.3% from 38,358 deaths in 2021 to 39,255 deaths in 2022. The female suicide rate was up 3.8% from 9,825 deaths in 2021 to 10,194 deaths in 2022. Suicide has been rising steadily from the early 2000s until 2018. In 2019 and 2020, the number of suicides dipped slightly before rising again by approximately 4% in 2021, with 48,183 deaths. Despite the increase in such deaths, many say that the increase in resources and awareness to mental health issues gives some hope. A new national crisis line launched a year ago so people can dial 9888 and get help from mental health specialists. The number of deaths listed for 2022 by the CDC represents the provisional data, which are based on death certificate data received but not fully reviewed. The 2021 death numbers represent the finalized data. So I'm noticing a trend where a lot of the deaths seem to mostly be when we're talking about groups that are increasing, be among a lot of older people. I think some of that has to do with a sense of hopelessness that some older people. I mean, I guess look at it this way: 65 and up, and even like mid 40s to mid 60s is around the age where people that you grew up with have passed away, or maybe that's where you might have, if you're 40 something, your midlife crisis. There's a lot of factors that we could discuss. I also just kind of want to point this out, and I try not to make everything just so gender based, but I do think that it is worth considering that last year there were 39,000 plus male suicides, but for women there were only 10,000. Now, of course, I don't want anyone to take their own life, but you have to ask yourself, why is it that? Because remember, 10,000. If you round up 39,000, that'll be 40,000. So men are committing suicide at a rate that is 75% higher than their female counterparts, pretty much. And you have to ask yourself, why is that? And I've explained before that in American society, I mean, hell, even across the world, people don't care about men. Um, you look at a lot of the rhetoric that's pushed online, where if you complain about your loneliness or lacking of a partner, people try to accuse you of being too ugly and lacking this, that, or the other, and insult you and call you out your name and attack you. And then oftentimes when we have men who come online, such as myself, and talk about the things that may bother them or otherwise cause them to be unhappy, you're met with some, I call it concern trolling, people who try to basically say just get over it. Oh, you're whining, you're crying, and it's really not a surprise when you have such a vitriol, right? Because people are talking about, oh, you have these different hotlines, and I've already said before, I think the hotlines are a waste of time. That's because of a bad experience I had with one of them, where they told me that they basically just will not get close to anyone that they supposedly care about that calls in, which is why I would never bother using them and haven't tried to use them since I was a teenager. Um, but be that as it may, when you have an internet culture that is based around attacking people, messing, and I said before, people try to pretend that depression doesn't vary based on gender, but I don't see chicks coming online talking about never having someone to talk to or feeling as if they're screwed. We talked about how you have women who don't have any talents whatsoever, and if they're lacking money, they can hop on a website like OnlyFans, or even some of the not smaller, but some of the less explicit ones like Instagarbage, and make money off of uh, thirsty, deprived of female attention men. But if you're a man and you need some assistance, good luck getting it. And like I said, that's something I took from, because that rate is not normal. Like, we don't, if it would be one thing if there were, let's say, 70 more percent men in America than women, but there aren't. In fact, apparently we're either even or there are slightly more women. So why is there such a higher chance that if you're male, you are going to take your own life? I've just explained it. No one cares about men. They if a woman gets hit with something negative, in like a light punch, we get a knockout blast. I mean, just the ways in which society bends itself backwards to accommodate females while also completely neglecting men, it's not something that a lot of these mainstream outlets would ever talk about. They'll jot down statistics, right? But they won't really try to diagnose, like, why is this so much? Because I look at the race stuff, and these numbers are not that far apart from each other. Like, the two things that stood out to me were the gender gap and the age gap, and I've already explained why I think older people are doing it more often. But you look at these ethnicities. Okay, you've got 36,000 for a 2% increase for whites, 3% increase for black. So really, all the ethnic groups have some single digit increase that might be slightly higher, and it is higher a little bit if within the single digit range if you're a minority. But when it comes to gender, there's a giant disparity, and I don't think you're going to see people discuss this. I think there will be a bigger increase of male suicides, and there's just not going to be a concentrated effort to diagnose it. Um, I wish I could give some kind of recommendation. I don't support calling those stupid hotlines because I think they're a joke, but do whatever you need to feel better.